Hello and welcome to this Databurst where we are not really having a chat. We are going to just kind of be showing what we've been up to lately because it's been a while, hasn't it? So welcome to Studio A, and it's a bomb site. I generally tidy up before a battle report, to be fair. So you're seeing in its raw state, and I am a bit messy, as you can tell from my desk. Let's spin the camera and I'll show you. Yeah, look, as usual, many paints. Okay, so what I've been doing, I've been painting these guys, and they are so nice to paint. These are my first Hack Islam, and I want to paint more because they were a joy to paint. They really were a joy to paint. And the sculpts on the Black Wind are just absolutely lovely. They went together really nicely, apart from him. Don't mess about, go straight to pinning those backpack pieces on. They are such a pain. It took me ages taking them off, picking the glue off, sticking back on again. Yeah, just pin them straight away. But yeah, absolute joy to paint, and they look gorgeous. Well, for my painting, and from that distance anyway, they look fine, absolutely fine. Currently on my painting table is the fixer. Come on, focus. I wasn't going to go pink. I'm certainly not going to go pink and that bright blue. I think I'm going to go pink and purple, but I had white in my airbrush, and so I just grabbed a bit of red and made it pink and gave her a squirt. Yeah, so she's going to be pink and purple rather than pink and blue, I think. Zooming out, you can see basically the whole of my desk is just a terrible mess, and as we look over there, it's a bit of a mess too. So over here, I'm getting ready for Saturday. We are doing the usual walkthroughs of the missions on Blackwind, as we've done previously before. As you can see, the old mat's still down there, and the scenery's under there. So I'm building these things, the Blackwind scenery set. If you've just bought it and you're having a quick look, these things, build it in a circle. So start with the roof and this short piece, then that bit, then that bit, then that bit, then the legs, with all those in, and it goes together lovely. That's how you build those. Yeah, I can do it one-handed, so it's not too bad. Loads of bits, lots of stuff that you get in Blackwind. Look, all the tokens again. And you know what? If you're just starting out, all these tokens, it's just such value for money. It's great. What else? Oh, yeah, making art. If we can see it, you know what? Hang on, let's go around the other side. Bear with. Oh, look. So I'm making art. So I've got that one, the 2nd edition, and underneath that lot's the 3rd edition. So some cheap frames from IKEA. They are just perfect. That one slipped down a bit, so I'm going to have to kind of do something to stick them in place, which I don't really want to do. Maybe Blue Tech. But one over there, one in the middle, and one there. I think that'll look cool. And of course, there's the 3D printed stuff that I'm working on. All that great stuff. And at the moment, if I can see it, I'm working on... Oh, sorry. Working on some Hack Islam stuff because I got excited about the Hack Islam. So I've got this off of Thingiverse, and it's such a tidy little thing. So it's so nice. So that comes off. The door opens. It's a small room. I'm going to need some larger buildings and some larger lines of sight blocking terrain. But hey, so be it. So that's what I've been up to. Of course, it needs a bit of a tidy up. So yeah, Saturday we are filming on here with Ogre and Stormshroud. They're playing the two factions, so they're bringing the LF and the Hack Islam sides. I'm bringing the terrain and the camera and witty repartee. So you should go through that. So if you've never played it before, keep an eye out for them, or you can go back and see what we've done already. So one of the best things that's been happening for me is little Luna has appeared. So this is taking up a lot of my hobby time, isn't it? Yes, her name's Luna. Not quite Major Luna yet, maybe a minor Luna. But yes, here she is. She's just been a sod. and just coming off the printer now is another little square room. It's really is quite small for the hack experiment. Hope it comes off. Then I need to start building some hills, some rocky outcrops, which I'm going to use the same technique that Stormshroud's been using, which takes me to a nice segue. So let's spin the camera around. Okay, so on that, let's go to the main event, and that's Stormshroud's new terrain set. He's going to show you how it's made, how it's done, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's pretty good, to be honest. I've played on it and seen the results. So. Welcome back to Fast Panda Gaming and the start of a new project to make a new terrain set for the channel. So currently I have my redwood, which you've all seen many times. I've got my beach city of Olabisi, which still needs finishing off, but I fancy doing something new. And I fancy doing a terrain set to match the bases of my nomads. So they've got sort of grey sand, blue crystals with some yellow sulphurous stuff around the bottom. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a terrain set. So Claw has been very busy with his 3D printer, printing up a bunch of mining bits and pieces. A whole stack of crystals, there's those, and then there's all of those. I think we're going to use them all. I've cut out some MDF bases for putting some rocky promontories and stuff on. It takes up a good amount of floor space. And I have a capsular mainframe from Warsenal, which will make a nice 8-inch objective room for this set of terrain, as well as a nice centrepiece. So on these bits of MDF, I will be doing rocky outcroppings, akin to what I did for the redwood board, which was a tester. So I've learned some lessons from doing that, and I'm going to take those on board as I do these. So I've made a bunch of bases, deliberately did some that will go against the edges of the board, and the two bigger ones will actually join together if I want to form like a long hill or a ridge or something, which could be good. 3D print wise, Claw has printed off a couple of these mining rigs. He's got one ready for his snowboard, and I really like them. They are from Dragon's Rest, the STL files, and then Claw with his 3D printer addiction has printed those off. There's a third one somewhere in here, yeah, which is going to go in a crate, packed up as if it's about to be deployed, and then there's a bunch of containers and crates and bits and pieces. So the plan is to put some craft foam, that stuff. Don't worry, both those boxes aren't full, only one of them, onto these to give these a bit of height, and then, as I said, build up around them with bark chips, of which I've got an absolute shed load to give it some texture. And one of the lessons I've learned from doing this one is I need to fill between them a bit more to make it a bit sturdier. So there's a stack of filler and coral sand and stuff to give that some appropriate texture. So I will try very hard to remember to take some video clips of each stage and show how I'm getting on and what I've decided to change, what I've decided to add, and hopefully over this break that I have over the next few weeks, I'll be able to get this all finished. And then I'll just need a mat to go on. Oh yeah, it'll need a mat. Right, with the rule books galore and some sand holding everything down, that's the first layer of foam glued on to what will be all the rocky ridges. And yeah, I need to leave that to dry for a few hours, and then I can come back, add a second layer to some, and start shaping the others. This bit always takes forever because you have to wait for things to dry. Can't just crack on with bits. Okay, making some good progress. We've got the bark on all the hills. Everything's glued down, everything's nice and firmly attached, it's not going anywhere. Yeah, pick it all up. I've got the first layer of filler on the top of the foam just to give it some texture and to hide all the little gaps. I'm sure I'll have to go around and find other bits when it's dried off. But, and we started work on the capsular mainframe objective room. I've kind of been flitting about, and Mrs. Stormshroud has been helping with the building. She likes them like big 3D jigsaws. Now, unfortunately, fortunately, I'm playing a game tomorrow, and I'm supposed to be playing a game on that table, which means all this has to get tidied up and put away somewhere so I can play a game and then get it all back out and start again. Yeah, that might take a while.
Actually, that wasn't too painful. I got rid of all the boxes, got the table all cleaned, and I managed to find that, or prove that it will all fit on the shelf. Might need a bit of rearranging. I definitely need to do a bit of a reorganise of some stuff, but building's over there on the window side of the way, but the table's cleared, so I can have a game. Easy peasy. Okay, progress update. We've got the first coat of paint / PVA sealant on those. I like to put a bit of paint in the first coat of PVA just so I can see where I have covered. So those 4 are getting ready for painting, looking pretty good. I'm quite pleased with them. The other 3 I've had a second run round with a filler just to fill in all the holes and voids and expose bits of foam and support under some of the bits of bark. It's one of the things I wasn't happy with the first sort of hills of these types that I did, is how the bark could be picked off quite easily. One of the things I like with my terrains is I like them to be quite durable. I want to get many years and many games out of them without them needing constant repair. So, good chunk of wood filler over all of it to cover up all the gaps and reinforce under the looser or the less well attached bits of bark. I think they're looking pretty good. We're on to painting, so what else have we been up to? We've fettled all of the 3D printed stuff that Claw has been cooking off on his printer. So we've got a couple of the big drills, a bunch of containers, a drill that's being unpacked, a couple of solar arrays, and all sorts of bits and pieces. It will all work. And all those bigger bits, so the solar arrays, the oxygen thing, and the drills, will all fit onto that section of the hill, which was by design. Making progress on the objective room for this board. The wonderful Capsulo mainframe from Arsenal. Mrs. Stormshroud is working on that for me. She likes doing the kits because they're like big 3D jigsaws. So it means we can do some hobbying together, which is nice. It means I'm not studying on my own all day, gluing bits of bark to foam. Right then, I'll leave it there, and I shall come back with another update once we've got some more progress. Okay, that's everything with its first sealant / primer coat on it. I just use basic, cheap hobby store acrylic for most of my terrain, and decorators PVA, rather than anything fancy or expensive. I find it works fine. You can generally mix it up to get the colours you want, close enough to match the modelling paints that we all use. So that can all dry overnight. And tomorrow, weather permitting, that'll all get undercoated and we can start painting that. A few dry brushes on this. Actually, I think I might go around and put some bits of sand and rubble and bits and pieces on these various places. And there's bits I can see where I haven't quite got the prime coat into all the nooks and crannies, so I have to go back around and give it a touch up. But that's fine. Main coat's on. I feel like good progress for today, and getting there. We are definitely making progress. Okay, everything's had a well. First, I added some sand to all the flat areas and stuff, just to give it more texture. Everything's had a second undercoat of black, just basic hobby store acrylic, nothing fancy. Some of the 3D printed stuff is all undercoated. The objective room is finished. It's an awesome building. Absolutely fantastic, really interesting shape. It's going to be very interesting to play on the table. And the roof itself is huge. Can't turn it over. Hang on, I've got the ladders on top. Take the ladders off. You can see it's fully detailed underneath it. Look at that, that's massive. It's a building in its own right. So a little bit too cold and wet to undercoat. So next step, we're going to start painting the hills. We've got a series of greys, and we're just going to basically do numerous dry brushes until we get the look that we want. So I shall be back once I have covered them in grey. Okay, some quick dry brushes / over brushes later. They're starting to come together. They are starting to look like rocky hills. They should match in with the mat quite nicely. They certainly seem to match in quite nicely with the Nomad bases. But as you can see on that Nomad base, the pops of colour, the yellow, like the sulphurous sand around the crystals, needs to be added to all of these so that I can get that just a bit of, just that little pop of colour, because otherwise they're quite grey and they're quite plain. Obviously when everything else is painted up it won't be just a mass of grey, but I think it needs it. Also it's going to allow me to cover up some of the little bits I've spotted where the undercoat just hasn't quite got into the cracks and crevices. I can squish some paste and get it all yellowed up. So my plan is to use, sweeping around, there we go, some of this Vallejo ground textured acrylic. I've only got a little bit left in this pot, so I'm really just going to mix some yellow paint in with it till I get a base colour I like, and then splodge it on in a few places and let that dry. That'll take a while to dry, and then we'll come back and highlight that, and we're going to go around and get all the paint off these blue crystals where I caught it with the brush, which was inevitable. Should scrape off relatively easy, I hope. And then we're on to painting all the bits and pieces that go with it. But no, I like those, they've come out quite nice. That one I think is probably my favourite. They always come out really well. Some nice interesting areas to hide and move around in. And loads of places for models to balance, even though it doesn't look like they can. There's lots of places on this board for models to move around. So time to splodge some yellow bits on, and I'll be right back. Okay, yellow sand, sulphurous lichen, whatever you want to call it, has sprouted all over the hills. I think it's looking pretty good now. It's starting to come together. It's definitely starting to come together. There's a nomad on there just to show how close I'm getting. This yellow will need a highlight, just a quick dry brush when it's dried. But we are getting there. We are definitely making progress. Oh yeah, there's still a lot to go. No rest for the wicked. Okay, so eagle-eyed people will have spotted that that was obviously done a while ago due to some decorations in the background and the lighting outside. It's been a busy year. We've finally got that terrain set to the table, and it'll be coming to a battle report next week, which will show it with all the crashed spaceship wreckage as opposed to any of the mining stuff. Mining stuff is still the plan to use with it. I haven't got to get round to finishing it all in between everything else. Isn't it a pain when real life gets in the way of hobby time? So keep watching. There'll be a few photos to show where it was at back then. And next week there'll be a battle report featuring that very terrain set, give or take. So take care guys, and catch you next time.
Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please give us a like, and if you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. It all helps to keep us motivated and raises the profile of our channel and Infinity the game, bringing it to a wider audience. And don't forget, if you're so inclined, you can also find us on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you.